I'm in trouble, but I didn't know how to say it.
Marty's struggle with mental health started when he was 14. Family and school problems made things more difficult. At 15, he made his first attempt to die by suicide.
I slit my wrists, and I took a lot of pills, and I hanged myself.
His 9-year-old brother found him. Marty survived, but he wasn't out of the woods just yet. His mental health did not improve. Did you feel like you had nothing to live for?
Absolutely, yes. I know that feeling. It's a very dark, it's hard to put in words when you spiral down and everything around you doesn't matter anymore.
He was in that dark place for more than 2 decades. But after several more attempts, Marty finally realized how important it was to him and his loved ones for him to keep living.
It is never fine, because my mom, it's really hard from the family, and I see it now.
Unfortunately, many never get out of that dark place. Here at the Crisis Call Center, they had over 62,000 contacts last year alone.
This is a crisis.
Often, experts say the person struggling just needs someone to listen.
You can call us if you're the one in crisis. You can call us if you're a family or a friend who knows someone is in crisis.
Be aware if you notice any changes in yourself or a friend, like feeling like a burden, changes in behavior like depression or anxiety, or talking about or making plans for suicide or self-harm. Express your concern to them or seek professional help, like the call center. There is hope for you.
This is all preventable. You can get better.
Someone's always out there willing to hear you out.
For Marty, his family was there when he needed it most. And every day, he's grateful he now gets to see his baby girl grow up.
Making happy memories is what keeps me going. There's always a light at the end of the tunnel, and I see it.
So that hurts really bad. I've had to kind of bandage that up.
Annika Kearns is on her road to recovery after a fun photo shoot took a turn for the worst.
It just came so fast.
Annika was with some friends near the train tracks taking pictures for her dog, Buster's Instagram page.
We heard a train coming around the corner and it honked at us, so we all got out of the way, including the dog.
But when it came closer, a second honk startled Buster. He bolted onto the tracks. Instinctively, Annika rushed to save the pooch's life. Just minutes later, a train coming down these tracks hit her, breaking her pelvis into 7 pieces, puncturing both of her lungs, ripping the abdominal muscle off of the bones, and fracturing her vertebrae. It's a miracle she survived.
Everybody just keeps telling me, you should have been cut in half, you should be dead. Even the train engineers said you should be in pieces.
Her boyfriend says she was thrown about 10 feet from the tracks.
It hit me so hard, my pants ripped open. I was just laying in the snow thinking, I'm gonna die, my dog is dead.
But another miracle, Buster managed to survive by ducking underneath a moving train between the tracks until it stopped. Annika blacked out for less than a minute, came to, and immediately called her mom.
I said, Mom, don't freak out, I'm okay, but I just got hit by a train.
Annika had emergency surgery on her pelvis that night. Doctors say the hairline vertebrae fracture will heal on its own. Looking back, she says it wasn't luck that saved her life, but her guardian angels, her grandparents.
And I just kept feeling like they were there and like they had saved my life. So that was what I thought about a lot.
She's back at home tonight recovering, but it'll be about 2 months until she can fully walk on her own again. Now she has some advice for anyone who has a train track photo shoot on their minds.
I know people think it's such a cute picture, but it's so not worth it.
In the meantime, words of support on Buster's Instagram, where she shared her recovery, have kept her spirits up.
He's gained quite a few followers from this.
Covering the story, Elizabeth Olveda, Channel 2 News.
I had done 4 years military at that time.
78-year-old Gary Barnes is a decorated Vietnam veteran.
I was sent by my commander-in-chief to serve, and that's what I did.
He spent much of his time overseas in the Philippines. But along with his medals, there was another life milestone he never even knew he had reached. But 50 years later, a phone call from who he thought was a stranger would change all of that.
It gives me a part of my life that I've always been missing.
With the help of Ancestry.com and DNA testing, Gary's daughter finally found the father she had searched for all her life. Last week, Gary drove from his home in Grass Valley,
Really nervous, excited.
and Olivia flew from her Florida home, and they met for the first time ever here at the Reno airport. We were there to see Gary's excitement overflowing.
Oh my God. Hey, we're watching you pull in. Oh yeah. You have to get off the phone now. You're pulling right to the gate here.
And just moments later,
There she is. Oh, you're here.
it seemed as if the pair had never missed a beat.
Feels like I finally have that missing puzzle to my life.
And just in time for the holidays, you might call it a Christmas.
Miracles happen, and we've experienced a miracle.
The first holiday they'll spend together.
I can't describe it. It's, oh my gosh. Oh, I can't describe it. We love each other.
Crews have been working all day pumping water from flood-affected areas into Swan Lake. And as you can see here behind me, that green line indicates where flood levels are at about 12:30 today and how far those levels have already receded. Crews were 4 to 5 feet deep in water today, working to pump about 100 acre-feet of water from the Pellis Drive area into Swan Lake.
You can see the water levels already receding.
Pumping this residual flood water was only possible as a short-term solution after the HESCO barrier was built. This allows for crews to pump water out of affected roads and neighborhoods into the lake, where it will stay put now because the barrier is in place.
Our goal is to get the water away from the houses and get the houses and the streets usable again.
About 4,500 gallons of water per minute are flowing through these pumps, which go across the Lemon Drive roadway into the lake. This morning, the water was so deep, divers had to come out to find the storm drain's end so they could efficiently cap it.
They put plywood and plastic and sandbags over it, so that is to keep the water from running back.
The process is a trial and error method, as the entire situation is unprecedented, but officials have high hopes. One main point of concern, however, is next week's forecasted rainfall.
It could come down here, and that would be additional water that we'll have to pump, and that's additional water that's going to go in the lake.
Pumps will be in effect with crews on site 24 hours a day. And once the HESCO barrier is completed around the lake, there will be about 5 or 6 main pumping stations overall. And for the homes that the HESCO barrier unfortunately cannot protect, crews will be sandbagging those homes in case water levels do rise again. Covering the story in Lemon Valley, Elizabeth Olveda, Channel 2 News.
My parents' picture at their wedding.
That's Edward and Kay Lorenz, who Randall always knew as mom and dad until now. Almost 7 decades later, through online DNA testing registries, Randall discovered a long-kept family secret.
She said, somebody should have told you a long time ago that you were abandoned and your parents adopted you.
The words from one of the only living relatives left from his adoptive family hit him hard.
It was a very serious shock to have my entire world ripped out from underneath me.
His story only gets more bizarre when he reached out to Cook County, Illinois for his adoption records, but those don't exist.
I actually have a legal birth certificate, but DNA has proved that wrong.
He notes that things were different back in the 50s.
It would have been very easy for the local community and the hospital, which the Catholic Church ran, to falsify those documents.
Continuing his search, he came across a very close match to a Jerica Starkweather living in Idaho. Possibly a cousin or niece, he contacted her and they eventually met. They immediately noticed a family resemblance.
When I got to talking to him, he has the same laugh as my brother, which I thought was kind of weird, but kind of cool at the same time.
His vision only became clearer when he asked her about another very close match with a woman named Margaret, who she says is her mother's aunt.
Therefore, somewhere in that line is my mother. I know that for a fact.
This narrows it down to 5 sisters. The only one still alive is Jerica's grandmother, and one of those sisters worked with Randall's adoptive father at an electric company.
We now find a cross where our families met. Now it's a matter of trying to uncover what actually happened during that time.
Jerica's 86-year-old grandmother has yet to take a DNA test, but Randall remains hopeful.
I think down the road she will. You know, I'm sure it's a shock for her to to realize this went on somewhere in her family.
As for now,
We just plan on getting to know each other and become more of a family.
We make whiskey, rum, gin.
Seven Troughs Distilling Company recently moved into the basement. But effects of the government shutdown have trickled to their business underground.
We are really highly regulated by the TTB, it's the Tax and Trade Bureau.
With those doors currently closed, craft liquor businesses cannot get new recipes, labels for new items, or even new equipment approved.
Those are all things that could kill a business.
Since innovation is the name of the game in the craft business, it really puts a damper on the flourishing industry.
We have triple-digit growth. We want to take advantage of that. We want to offer new products that ride new trends, and without having the ability to get those products approved, we're dead in the water.
10 years ago, people really relied on flagship beers, but it's shifted, and now people they want what's new.
Both Imbibe and Seven Troughs have recipes and labels waiting for approval.
We have 4 or 5 labels that are pending.
But their future is in limbo.
And without that, we can't go into distribution, we cannot sell that product.
Permits to expand operations are also at a halt. In fact, Adams canceled a business meeting just today, which would have focused on the company's growth.
We can't do that right now, we're completely shut down.
And over at Imbibe, they recently signed a lease for a second location, but now they can't even get their license approved.
Dipping into our coffers to try to cover rent when we can't actually bring in additional revenue.
The government needs to reopen.
And even when it does, the approval process for applications will be backlogged.
When nobody's home, the mailbox gets full.
When they finally open back up, and it's going to push a lot of things back.
Covering the story, Elizabeth Olveda, 2 News. These local weekly motels are home to almost 1,300 seniors, many of whom struggle to afford even studio apartments. And many of those motels are being torn down.
We have to have a place for those people that are utilizing them to go to.
It's only one part of the larger affordable housing issue the area is experiencing. That's why Reno City Council is looking into what's called a community land trust.
Providing a housing model that people of lower income or moderate income can afford, given the escalation of housing prices in our area.
So what is it exactly?
Created an affordable housing for people to buy into as they moved up in their housing quality.
First, housing is built on a vacant lot of city-owned land or land leased out by the city for the long term, think 99 years. Those houses are then sold outright to home buyers, typically priced to match what they can afford according to their income. Residents then pay an annual fee to the land trust to support operations. When that homeowner decides to move and sell the home, their house sells at a price set by the land trust, while the trust permanently retains ownership of the land underneath that home. The owner makes a small profit off of the equity gained while they lived there, and the rest stays within the land trust. For example, if a home is bought for $100,000 and then appreciates in value to $150,000 by the time of move out, 20% of that gain goes to the homeowner. So the owner would see a $10,000 profit, and the rest of that $40,000 would stay within the land trust to continue making the home affordable for future buyers. As of right now, it's too early to say exactly where that land trust would be built, but McKinsey says the city does have a large surplus of empty land.
Let's go, big guy.
9-year-old Ivan has been at the shelter for about a month now.
Loves people.
Today, he got to get out of the concrete shelter and out on a hike.
All right, buddy.
It's all part of the joint effort between the Nevada Humane Society and Adventure Pet to fast-track adoptions by showing the pup's true colors.
It's hard to determine what a dog's personality is like when you're just looking at it behind a cage.
Barking or jumping at the fence at the Humane Society, and it just doesn't show well for them, when in most cases, that's not even their true personality.
First, the dog's behavior is tested at the shelter.
Oh, look at you guys.
Eligible pups get to go out on adventures on Friday mornings.
An employee that comes over and picks up a dog and then takes them out on their own excursion. So this way, owners can see the dogs out in nature having a good time.
They're free to frolic and roam as they please, but with a GPS collar for safety.
Yeah, this is the route we walked today with Ivan.
The team snaps photos and videos like these.
What a good guy.
Posting them on their Facebook page for potential adopters who want to see how the dogs act in a natural setting. The goal is to fast-track adoptions, ideally taking the excursion in the morning and finding them a forever home by that same night. The program has been pretty successful so far. In fact, almost every single one of the dogs that's been taken out on an excursion has already been adopted.
6 of the 7 have already been adopted.
All but Ivan, who, by the way, is a friendly, playful guy and still available. The program is still in its infancy, only about 2 months in. The team is working on a system where each Adventure Pet certified dog will have a badge and QR code on its kennel card. Potential adopters can scan that code with their phone and pull up the videos taken on their excursions.
It's in progress, and we're looking forward to having that.
Covering the story, Elizabeth Olveda.
Good boy.
Channel 2 News. 600 backpacks filled and on their way to Nevada's homeless youth.
They're in a living situation that isn't regular, fixed, and adequate.
The backpacks are full of books and toiletries and supplies.
A former Washoe County school teacher helping to fill the need she knows all too well.
I taught many children who were homeless. There is such a need when you don't have a home for supplies that are yours, for a backpack that belongs to you.
And something as simple as books and bags can give these children without homes
Moving from place to place, whether it's a motel or doubled up in a house,
so much more than meets the eye.
Something safe and secure and constant in their lives.
by giving them backpacks, they start their day off in a good way and kind of levels the playing field.
That leveled playing field not only helps boost their self-esteem and confidence, but can ultimately improve their performance in the classroom.
We want our kids academically successful. We want them to get to school on time, ready to learn, and not worried about whether or not they have adequate supplies.
In the following days, those books and backpacks will be distributed to 17 school districts.